All right, we're back. Okay, let's try this again. Phil Davis, Ancestry Landers, AncestryLands.com. Leaving work today, folks. Today is April the 11th, my son's birthday. My son, Philip the third. You all have seen him in many of the videos. You've seen him in many of our actual films. He is my firstborn son, our firstborn child. Happy birthday to you, son. I'm coming home. If God lets me get home in time, I will be home to be able to be for your birthday. And one thing I want to talk to my audience about is about skipping the process. And it's an inspirational video in the sense that a lot of times people want to skip the process towards success. I've talked about this before in other videos. I've tap danced around the subject, but I think it's essential to hit home. I've gone through mentorship myself. I've been mentored by business owners, business creators, other entrepreneurs, and I've experienced this many times. And I'm now mentoring people myself. I'm mentoring people with social media, with business. People want to know how to write a book, how I wrote my book, how I got it accomplished. And one of the things that I always see that is very common with people, especially when they're seeking out mentorship, and I understand why you pay for mentorship. A lot of people want to skip the process. They want tips, techniques. They don't understand that things are a process. When I wanted to own land, I didn't ask somebody how to just create a deed. I wanted to understand the bottom to the top on land ownership. I wanted to understand why and how, the ins and outs of buying and eventually selling a property, which I've come to do time and time again. But being a student means that I didn't dictate the curriculum. I didn't decide what was important. What I did was I chose a person that would know the important things to teach me. So that way, when I'm learning from them, I was understanding that I'm being taught something in a process that would lead me to success. Buying land or selling a property is an outcome in itself. It's part of a larger process into owning land or having a business that deals with vacant land selling, buying, and owning. And a lot of times people miss that process. They miss the component of learning because you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know what works or what is not working, what you need to know until someone with the expertise or the ability to teach you things that you do not know, that you're not aware of, you're not focusing on. That's what you put them in that place for, to give you knowledge. But a lot of times people want to pick and choose or cherry pick what knowledge they get and also how they receive it. And a lot of times what that leads to is they're trying to take a shortcut. They're trying to find a shortcut way to be successful by getting to what they see right now a person is doing. For instance, I have people who want to know what tools I use, what tools I have for this, what tools I use for that. How do I record these videos? How do I do this video that I'm doing right now? How do I come up with this design process of doing a video right here? I apologize for the shakiness, but this just lets you know how bumpy the roads are in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. I don't think it's Pennsylvania as a whole, but I do think it's Philadelphia at large, for real. And they want to skip the line. And today we're talking about building a process or a system, if you will. I know people love that word. I love how there are new buzzwords that come out that are like, oh, these are the new buzzwords to use. Use system. You want to build a system. It's a process, folks. You need a process, not a system. A system is something that's already packaged, done for you, that is step-by-step guidelines created by someone else. You need to learn a process to be able to come up with your own system. If I give you a system, you may not understand the process in which that system is built. You may not understand why things are in their order. So what you need to do is learn a process. When people want to sell you a system, they want to sell you a finished product. They're not teaching you how to be an independent thinker, how to be able to come up with things that you may not see using that person's system when you apply it to a different area or field of study or different business aspect that you'll come upon time and time again in your journey to be successful. The things I have to deal with now at 43 are not the same things that I've dealt with at 23. I'm not a single man anymore. I have children. I'm a father. I've got to think more long-term than ever. I've got to look now to the potential of becoming a grandfather. When I was 23, never thought about that. It's just a pipe dream because I had a grandmother. There's no point to think about being a grandfather when you have a grandmother and you're only in your 20s. That is unless you live somewhere where grandpas are very common at being 20, 30-year-olds, right? So, and again, you do not learn to become a good student. You have a degree and you need to learn a new field of study. And what we do is that we shorten the process because we do not want to pay the money to spend. And it has nothing to do with our time. It has to do with our capacity to absorb and learn new information. Keyword absorb, which is why if you look at my wordplay, I tend to put certain words first, not the most common words. You can teach a monkey to screw a light bulb in, and they'll do it probably twice. They'll get it wrong so many times, but occasionally they'll do it right, which means to learn something, you can be taught. But to absorb it means that you retain. So it's again, what is your student process like? Because again, entrepreneurs, you can read 20 books a day. You know, I love that. Entrepreneurs read 65 books a year. Well, great. But what do they absorb and retain as far as knowledge is concerned, right? Because if you're not retaining anything, you're not absorbing any information, you're just reading, right? That's all you're doing. It's just reading books. My kids read. Ask them what they read. Maybe they paid attention, maybe they didn't. Right? That's how it always works. So, and again, people are skipping the process because they don't want to take time and make a real investment. They don't want to invest in their success. And to invest in your success means that you have to dedicate time towards achieving that outcome. And there's no shortcuts to do that. It's an inconvenience. I'm mentoring someone right now, and what we've come upon is understanding that, hey, the way you film sucks. If you go back and watch your own material, you will see how well you do not speak. And you've got to concentrate on that part first, but I want to know this outcome. Okay, great. But even if I gave you that, you're still not going to be successful because no one is listening to you because they can't understand you. You got to fix this problem first. And people just want to show you, people want you to show them your final process, and they don't want to understand what it took to get you there. Because I can show you how I do something, but I can't give you what makes me creative to think to do it. Because that's a process that's built within my mind. It's not something that is just, it comes up because I have an application. I seek out the application because of the way my mind is creating, because I have a process that I'm doing things in order to be creative. And you try to impart this upon people, but they're not willing to be good students. Which connects to what we talk about, the importance of mentorship. But studentship, the ability to be a good student, is also required for you to be successful. I find often that people are trying to be successful and they fail, and you know why? It's because they're poor students. They don't do research. They don't want to learn. They don't want to take the baby steps to learn how to crawl before they walk, how to walk before they run, and how to run before you sprint. Because anybody who's a sprinter will tell you there's a difference between sprinting and running. Anyone who's run track that thought they were fast because they could beat somebody in a street race went up against a real person that understood technique and how to run a race, how to sprint, how to get out of those blocks, how to have a good start, how your first 10 meters of a race indicates your drive phase of your race, your sprint, is super important to the next part, especially if you're running on a windy day. There's a technique to sprinting that is much different from running. Everything from the way your ankles to the way you position your feet to run the stride, the steps, the length of your stride, the technique of getting out of the blocks to start a race has to be learned. And a lot of times, what the bad habits have to be undone and new habits have to be taught. And when people really want success in life, they understand that they have to first undo bad habits. And you've got to learn to listen first, then make demands after they've understood, after they learn, and lastly, after they've mastered. But the issue is, a lot of times, when you're faced with the fact that you have to pay for information, people then decide that they need it short and quick. And what is short and quick ever done? Try laying up with a woman, be short and quick. See how that does, right? Try laying and trying to please a woman with short and quick. See how it works. Try to have a short and quick date. See how that works. Try to have a short and quick life. See how that works. Try to have short and quick success and see how that works. Short and quick friendships. See how that works. If you go to school short and quick, do you get the same level of education? Do you get the same degree? Do you get an AA or an associate's degree, or do you get a master's degree or a bachelor's degree? The higher level of achievements require more time and more investment. More schooling means it's more price. And the price is there to separate people from who want it to those who can't afford it and don't want it. Because everybody thinks price is always the issue. No, a lot of times people don't want it, even if it was free. Key thing, my book on Amazon. My book on Amazon, Getting Dollars from Dirt, A Beginner's Guide to Vacant Land Investing, is $17. That's less than a pizza, less than a date. And honestly, people won't buy it because, you know why? It requires you to read. Even though I made it 55 pages, so that way people wouldn't have to spend a lot of time reading, people still won't do it. You know why? Because it's not short and quick. Because it's not in a video format. Because these videos are 30 minutes, 40 minutes long. Because he don't just get right to the point. Well, if I told you that, all the little bullet points, you're going to end up having a question, which will require explanation. Then I have to make another video to explain to you a process that you don't understand. And then you got to make another video for the next question you have, so on and so forth, which is why mentorship and being a good student is important, because your questions will be built upon knowledge that is understood in a process. So information is absorbed, retained, implemented, mastered, and at some point, you would have a question that allows you to evolve past the point of your base mastery. You would be integrating your ideas into the formula or the process by which you learned. It's the same way when you learn how to count, then you learn how to do math, then you learn how to multiply, then you learn how to divide and subtract, then you know how to do equations. You learn how to do a whole lot of things that are built upon that base knowledge. You might do calculus. You might do trigonometry. You might do a whole lot of other advanced levels of math that are built upon your understanding of numbers. You could become an architect, an engineer. You can become an accountant, a CPA. You can become a whole lot of things. You can become a math teacher. But you first have to understand numbers. And people try to skip that line. So I'm going to ask you this question. You want to be successful in life, correct? The answer is yes. You want to have the $1 million dreams. You want to have the money. You want to have the house. You want to have the car. You want to have the woman or woman. You want to have the good-looking kids. You want to be able to sit on a beach and drink Mai Tais or whatever, lemon drops or lemon shots. You want to be able to have those things. And again, what do those things equate to as far as an outcome monetarily wise? How much money do you have to make and be able to achieve that? If you're going to tell me quite a lot more money than you currently make now, then guess what's going to need to be required? You're going to have to invest in that dream. Just the same way you have a 401k and you have to keep dumping money into a 401k, whether you lose or not, right? Because we work 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, overtime. We've got 401ks, right? That we think is going to save us at the end of our lives when we need to call upon money that we are going to be taxed on, correct? Money that we're going to be taxed on later. We're okay with that concept. With being taxed later on income we make now. Even if the stock market loses it because of bad decisions made in the banking industry, bad monetary policies by the government, we're okay with relying on future revenue being taxed, or future current income being taxed into the future, because we're going to have it for retirement, although we don't manage it, we don't focus on it, we don't know how it works, we don't know if it works. We just know it should work. Because that's what we're told, or sold when we're told, right? But the process we skip on. So when you want to be successful in life, you want to be rich in life, you want to be a beautiful wife, beautiful kids, you want to have the ability to be home, you want to have a business, you want to have a legacy, generational wealth. Well, what does it take and the process for you to get to that? If you got to work 20, 30 years to get a nice size retirement in a form of 401k, how is your personal dreams and outcomes any shorter of a time when, again, for you to work to get something will take you 40, 50, 60 years to accumulate, and it's not even a guarantee? 401k talk here. Then what the hell will it cost you for your own dreams? Because a 401k is all it is an investment for your time spent working on someone else's dream that they now have created as an outcome. What you now are doing is working on someone else's generational legacy in a 401k, because the company you work for either has been around for generations or will be around for generations, correct? So, in that case, you're working on someone else's generational legacy. Whether it's a company, family, private business, solopreneur, family, member managed LLC, it doesn't matter. You're building someone else's dream that became an outcome. Now you're working on it generationally. So it's okay to dump money into a 401k because you got some change over here, right? But your own personal dreams, you've got a cheap price, a low level price on that. We're not willing to pay for our dreams, but we're willing to give our time for others. Now, I have a 9-to-5 too. I have a business. There are a couple of businesses actually. A property I own. I do a mentorship. I'm a father, coach, a whole lot of things. Husband, and again, but I'm at over 100% expenditures of energy. I'm tired every single day. And I'm not tired from one thing. I'm tired because there's so much to do. It doesn't matter how much. I could get rid of a mountain load of work to do. I've got 3 mountains left. I have more weight than I could bear. Heavy is my crown that I bear on my head. You know why? Because what I want is generational. So it takes generational efforts, meaning I've got to do more in one lifetime because I'm working on more than one lifetime than mine. I'm working on the next lifetime and the next after that. I'm trying to get the grandkids somewhat. I'm trying to get my money to reach to my grandchildren while still taking care of my children. So again, I'm not thinking just about me. I'm looking one step ahead and almost a half. I'm trying to get at least, if I can get to 1.5 generations meaning that I'm able to give them some semblance of independent wealth gotten from me, passed on to a grandchild, and my children can keep that same formula cycled over again, which means that I'm giving my children a head start on children they do not have yet. Now, that could come in many different forms. High levels of education. You can do that by getting your kids, investing in your kids towards high level sports, AAU, traveling teams, personal coaching, all of that stuff. It can be done academically or athletically. It can be done on both fronts, one or either or both. A lot of people do it. Give your kids, Tiger Woods' dad gave him a head start in golfing at 2, 3, 4 years old. So now we look at him and his children are set. The son's golfing now. So he's now been able to, the father and mother have been able to do something to reach down generations. The same thing with Richard Williams, Serena and Venus Williams' father. He was able to reach down generationally and leave a legacy for grandchildren that did not exist at the time based upon his efforts. And again, you could complain a lot, but again, what is your effort? What is your process to building wealth and success and entrepreneurship? Because any fool can start a business nowadays. You don't have to have any money to start a business. Having a successful business requires process, not systems, a process. Because of that business, if I took that business away from you today, can you start another one? Can you be successful more than once? That's a question to all of you. Can you be successful more than once? Can you recreate success? And Fred Trump, you can say what you want about Trump, but we just isolate the parts outside of politics. Fred Trump was a real estate mogul, a real estate guy, left his son money, and what did he do? He gave it to his sons, and one of his sons ended up becoming generationally set. You don't have to like him, but that family's going to be around for a long time. You got to respect that. If you're able to think beyond your emotions or political affiliations. What are your goals? You're 20 years old. What are your goals for building that? You're looking always how to make, but what can you generate because your mind is not there? It's not creative enough. You want the success of people next to you, but you feel that you got a better way of doing it, but you won't pay the time, the energy, or you won't invest in the fact of getting to where they are because you want to have the shortcut to skip the line. There's no skipping the line to success. There's no fast way to get to heaven. It requires faith, prayer, sacrifice. It requires you doing the hard thing when the hard thing is when the easy thing to do is not the right thing to do. Correct? I ask you again, what are you willing to do for your success? And you got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself. Do you really want success? Or is it just something that you feel like you need, or you just want, but you don't really need it? Just want it. You don't need success. Because if you needed success, you would do what you want. You would do what you needed to do to get it. I'm going to leave it this last point. Before I do, make sure you go and buy my book on Amazon. It's called Getting Dollars from Dirt, A Beginner's Guide to Vacant Land Investing, written by me, yours truly, Phil Davis, not an AI project. The only thing I did was written and I got an editor, like all writers and authors have done. 55 pages, easy, meat and potatoes to the point. It has not just vacant land, it's about real estate in general. It's a simple book. If you got one, get one for your kids. If your kids got one, get one for your cousins. If you don't got one, get one for a girlfriend. Give one to your father-in-law. Buy it and give it as a gift to people. Because somewhere along the line, someone will pick that book and they're going to learn something. They're going to be able to build a process with the information provided in that book. It's a guide on how to understand the land we walk under. It's much more than dirt. It's brown gold. Just think about it. That same land was once this mountainside over here that eventually gets cleared out. The space underneath the mountain can go high or go low, and anything can be built on it. This highway was not here at one point. Rivers can be made and changed and diverted. There are going to be houses over here to the right that were once not there, that were built. And once those houses fall down, break down, they can get changed into something else. Neighborhoods get changed, they get updated, modernized. The structure on top is not as important as who owns what's underneath. Just remember that. It's always about the dirt. The dirt is the most important because it's earth. Materials can always wither away, but trees need ground to grow. Your cement comes out of the ground. Gold comes out of the ground. Water can be found in the ground. To feed yourself, guess what? The animals and the plants, what they grow out of, right? The ground. Animals don't grow out of the ground, but you get my understanding metaphor. Animals feed themselves by the things that grow out of the ground. Plants. The plants are consumed by animals that eat the plants, that feed other animals that eat other animals. But still goes back to the ground. It's always a starting point. Every place that you live in there's a ground underneath it, right? Because we just don't fly and we're not hovering beings. Remember, I'm going to say this about the process and I'm going to close out. Those who really want something in life, those who need something, they find a way. Those that don't really want it, don't really need it, they make excuses. Remember, folks, as far as owning property, you're either going to be owned as property or you're going to own property. You can't do both. Ancestrylands.com is where you go and get properties on our website. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video, folks. I'm your host, Philip Davis, and I'm out. Peace.